Hey, what's going on, team? Welcome to part two of our three-part series on diet breaks or calorie cycling or intermittent calorie restriction, or as we call them here at Macro Missionary, macro breaks. So Jesse Dale here. I'm excited to be delivering this information to you, and hopefully you can apply it in your real life. So yesterday we talked about minimizing adaptative thermogenesis and deactivating obesity rebound study, or the Matador study. And basically what they found in this study is they found that groups that balanced period of caloric maintenance with caloric restriction saw better fat loss with the same amount of caloric restriction over more time than another group who did caloric restriction just straight. Okay, so we wanted to dive in today as far as the physiology is why that might occur, because frankly they don't really know 100% why. So we're going to kind of try to take this on ourselves. So if we look at our total daily energy expenditure, TDEE, that's the total amount of energy that we put out in a day. So much of that, about 50 to 60%, is driven by our resting metabolic rate, or our RMR, which is mainly mass driven. So as we lose mass, i.e. body fat, our resting metabolic rate goes down because that doesn't have to work as hard to circulate blood through our systems and so forth. So smaller mass individuals will have slower RMRs than larger mass individuals. So it stands to reason that as we lose body fat, our RMR is going to go down a little bit. Makes sense. The other areas that we expend energy that are relevant would be non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Now this is what we're going to get into here in a bit. So your NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis, is just kind of your day-to-day subconscious activity. So it could be tapping your foot, could just be me doing this, but a lot of it is just subconscious activity. Then you have the thermogenic effect of food, and then you have your exercise activity thermogenesis. So what we found, or what scientists have found, is that as you eat less and you lose body fat, you become more and more efficient. So it's a good thing. And what happens is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis starts to go down, particularly as your body fat percent gets into those single digits. So if you have a higher body fat percent, NEAT and exercise activity thermogenesis doesn't get as affected as it does is when you really start to get leaner. So the leaner you get, the more your body will fight in these areas. Now these are controllable areas. Like I control my NEAT by wearing a Fitbit when I'm doing long-term calorie restriction. So I try to keep my activity the same, my subconscious activity and steps and everything the same. But most people, because it's subconscious activity, that's very, very tough to do. So you see subtle decreases in that NEAT, which is up to 30% of your total daily energy expenditure. Then because you're becoming more efficient, you're not burning as many calories in exercise itself. And think about it, if you're losing weight, so say you're down 15 pounds and you're squatting sets of 10, that's 150 less pounds that you're gonna squat for that given set just out of pure body weight coming off. So of course you're gonna burn less just walking around, you're gonna burn less exercising because you're carrying less. So if you ever wanna put that to the test, carry a 10-pound weight with you for a day and you will burn a ton more calories just from that little bit amount, just from that 10 pounds. So what's going on hormonally with us when we do long-term caloric restriction? Now remember, long-term caloric restriction is going to lead to body fat losses. And what we found is that when you starting to get into that single-digit body fat percentages, again, so when the body fat starts to get very low, you start to get impacts of your thyroid hormones go down, your testosterone goes down, females might stop their periods, or they might stop mensing because when they get to a certain level of leanness, because their body literally thinks it's dying, so it shuts down reproductive capabilities in an attempt to keep you alive. So these are just hormonal adaptations that our body is saying, wow, you're not supposed to be this lean. I think you're dying. I think you're slowly starving to death. So it's going to have these hormonal adaptations. Mitochondrial efficiency, we just become very efficient at extracting calories from food. Okay, so that would be another adaptation that we see. So basically when you do a diet break, so you had two weeks of caloric restriction, and in the study they used 30% caloric restriction, and then 2 weeks to maintenance, okay, some of these things might go up. So you might have a little bit more energy, so your NEAT goes up, or a little bit more ingested energy. These are more body fat driven here. So if your body fat is very, very low in the caloric restricted, then you might want to formulate and go up to maybe above maintenance to get the body fat up to a healthy level of body fat. But typically the lower the body fat is, the more of the hormonal adaptations you're going to have. So we're really kind of looking more at this side of the equation as far as having those diet breaks or those macro breaks could be beneficial. So that's the physiological end. Tomorrow we're going to get into the psychological end, which I'm telling you, I think this is the most important. So diet breaks, are they right for you? Are they not right for you? Tune in tomorrow. We're going to talk about the psychological benefits that a diet break might bring you. And again, to recap today, it looks like the physiological benefits that you're going to get are mainly an increase in NEAT through increased calories, okay, or calories up to baseline, and you'll probably have a little bit higher glycogen saturation or glycogen reserves, so you might be able to push a little bit harder in the gym and burn a little bit more calories on your exercise activity thermogenesis. Hopefully this was beneficial for you. This is part 2. We'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to take this whole thing home. We'll also talk numbers of how you can structure out your intermittent caloric cycle over the next 30 weeks or so forth. All right, have a great night.